Thank you all for joining today's conversation. It really means a lot to me because it's an important subject. I found the power of tech-enabled empathy. So without further ado, I'd like to first introduce Tania. She's an inspiring woman with a deep understanding of self-awareness. Her determination has brought her to combine her interest in the spectrum from AI to mental well-being. So hi, Tania, how are you?
Hi, Jan. Thanks a lot for introduction. I am great today, and I really like the topic that we discussing today, right? Because being passionate with technology, I always wanted to somehow combine it with the well-being, human well-being, right? And I believe that a lot of projects that we done, even in data security company, they were around the well-being of the employees, right? And what we discovered is that really, if we practice empathy, if we bring that self-awareness to everyone, right, to understand 360 degrees view on your life, in that case, we can be more aware and more present in everyday life to bring also happiness not only to ourselves but to the others, right? So by saying that, by doing it manually, could you imagine the power of technology like AI when it will help us to understand the others and ourselves more, right? And boost our awareness and presence around. So this is something that still open question to a lot, and I really feel passion to discover that.
Thank you, Tania. Second guest we have is Andamon, another amazing multidisciplinary individual who has managed to combine all of his interests and passions into a single modality, whether as a performer, a scientist, a mathematician, or an inventor. So Andamon.
Let me put it to the point, So yeah, really, I feel myself, that I have, converged, all my, or maybe most of my, let's say, abilities, interests, and they are culminating in the projects which I'm doing right now, like Systrum, for example. Maybe we have some time to talk about this later. So I would say for myself, I was able, thanks to my parents and, other people, to bridge, science and art. And of course, art this is something to do with emotions, with empathy, which is the subject here, and science, especially in the biofeedback area.
Thank you. And finally, Edric, a wonderfully authentic human who isn't afraid of being vulnerable, and in his process has helped others to feel love, belonging, and connect on a deeper level.
Thank you, Jan. So yeah, my name is Edric. I'm the founder of Warm Space, and we help people to connect with their humanity and connect with others and themselves in a deeper way through facilitated, automated, guided conversations. And I guess my own journey in discovering myself in spirituality and in bettering myself have led me to what I'm doing today. And I've always been in tech. My career-wise, I studied programming. My career was in I worked for Twitter and Google, and then only recently that I found out that, hey, you could actually combine. There's an industry for using tech for good that could help elevate and unleash and human potential and get people more in touch with their humanity and to help elevate consciousness. So I'm so excited to be geeking out with Andaman and Tania and you to like just talk about the potential of tech for humanity. So very excited to be here.
So I have a fun warm-up question. Anyone can start, whoever comes into mind first. What is one memorable experience or moment that you experienced recently or recognized the feeling of empathy, whether it's yourself or with someone?
What came to my mind was our team's vulnerability circle that we just did today. We, as part of our culture, because when we practice what we preach, so it is part of culture to be relating authentically with one another, even at work. And I make it part of our ritual to do this every 2 weeks, to have a space where we could talk about our anxiety, our struggle that we're facing in regard to our company and our relationship with one another. And then I got to share my kind of anxiety with where we are right now, in not knowing whether we're able to secure a round, and then receiving the support. First of all, having that space to feel seen by my team members, and a place where that I wasn't at my best, develop a sense of empathy. I sense a sense of empathy from them, and then because of that, and also they get to share what they appreciated about me. So I felt really seen in that place, and I think it was beautiful to be able to feel this type of connection and empathy at a workplace.
Yeah, I will give just very simple example, but it was very impressive. So today, after I work from home, and after long meeting, I was like really tired. I came to the sofa, just sit down, and my daughter, she came and like what's happened? I said nothing. I was just tired, and in few minutes she came to me with the bottle of water like that. Found the solution.
Wow, that's so sweet.
Just wanted to comment on Tania's example, which was so simple, but yet just really highlights how everyone has this sense of empathy. I think I really believe that's a core fundamental value of human beings, and that was demonstrated from your daughter, Tania. And I think all of us has that in us, but somehow along the way, as we grow up, we got this value get buried and get stacked with all other more toxic and shallow values. Like, I always thought that I didn't have much empathy in me, until recently, where I really cultivated that sense in me. And then I realized, oh, actually, when I was really young, I had a lot of empathy for other people around me, but somehow along the way, I lost this connection to my empathy. So I just love Tanya's example. So simple, but yeah, it just shows like how from a very young age, we all just have that inside of us.
Anyone, how about yourselves?
Yeah, I think, I would go, so spontaneously came to my mind a scene maybe from 20 years ago. So it's not recently, but it's very vivid. We were doing one of the VERIM seminars, so using biofeedback for regulating activation and focusing, and it was a valuable national team in Germany. And as it's always, with the national teams, there was a South Korean guy there. Usually I don't take part, but this was again uneven, a number of participants. So I had to, join in, and I had, the team. It was like, partnership exercise where you see each other through a ring, which is, moving depending on your activation of your autonomic nervous system. And Kim was perfect in relaxation. So he came down very quickly. Yeah, I had to, it took me much more time to join him. Yeah. And then something strange happened. We had like a small chat in the software, and he wrote me, "Oh, I cannot activate anymore." So again, I jumped up, yeah, seeing the notice, and then I wrote to him, "Okay, Kim, I will try to join you down, yeah, so I will relax as well, to your point, and then we will try to go up together." And it happened. And then I felt, it was I would say even more like an empathy. It was something, very, where you get, sudden goosebumps on your neck, because I, realized we were communicating, through technology. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm hearing goosebumps already, hearing to that.
Yes, I think we have it so inside of us, so the example of Tania, I had it, similar situation today, but from the different point, my youngest son, was playing and he started bleeding, on the nose. Happens, yeah. So I took him into my arms, laid him down, and it was, I saw in his face, it was so much, for him feeling secure when I just, try to be empathic with him, yeah.
Yes.
That's true. I think that to the at-risk point, I completely agree that we have it by default, right? And somehow we lose it after. And if we don't, at some point of life, stop and ask ourselves, like, is everything okay? Am I happy with my life? Is it something that I need to develop to improve it, right? We can just go on this autopilot mode and be not happy, and maybe like making people around not so happy, right? So I believe that at assessing our happiness and quality of life from all the perspectives, right? You can think about the simple body, mind, spirit, right? You can go down into relationships, career, personal growth, mindfulness, hobbies, entertainment, right? And look just on this wellness wheel, if you will, from 360-degree view. We can see where we underperform, or where we are not honest with ourselves, or where we don't have time for, right? Do we have time to engage with our friend enough? Do we have time to actually express the empathy, right? Do we have time to meditate and think about how I can be better served, either for the others or for myself, right? So the program and the tool we develop is to really assess our own life, right? And ask the proper questions to ourselves. And by asking, we will have the answers. We will definitely get the answers, and we will be able to practice empathy, to practice serving the others, to practice mindfulness, personal growth, etc. Right? And after that, we will improve our life significantly, right? Because we will feel we give it to the world, but we also getting more from the world.
I think this is, again, a very important issue, because you are talking now about more or less, we are using the technology for our personal growth, right?
Right.
But, the other side of technology is, you can misuse it, yeah? So,
Right.
this dark scenario, Amazon or Google having, some biofeedback, or, let's call it biometric signals, yeah? Psychophysiological signals, so they know, what you read, how much you stay, probably they already do it, yeah. But if you add to this, they know how you feel, and then the artificial intelligence will tell you what are your feelings. I think then we are dead as a humanity.
That's right, and that's why it comes to the building AI that is also empathic, right? Because if we tell that we want to be empathic to the others, but we use technologies that is not empathic to ourselves, right? We will not be able to benefit from it, right? So basically, every time when we teach AI or robots or whatever, we need to share not only the logical things, if else, but we also need to share the empathy that we want to implement, right? And this is the biggest question now, right? It's the biggest problem that everyone's trying to solve in AI world, except of building AI.
Yeah, and I like the point that you brought up, Enderman, and I think technology to me is neither good or bad. It's all neutral. It's just the way it is used and the way it is developed that leads to a completely different outcome. And I really believe technology, whatever that comes out of the technology, is simply the extension of the consciousness of the creator. So that's why it's even more important to be able to train and develop empathy as a value in technology. The creator needs to have that sense of empathy in themselves in order to be able to create technology and AI that is not biased, that is grounded on values of compassion and acceptance and togetherness. And I think that's why, going back to our points earlier, it's important for all of us as humanity to really understand ourselves, develop self-awareness, and cultivate all these values that then will manifest in the things that we'll put out in the world, including the AI that some of us will create and eventually will affect, the lives of millions of people because of the power of artificial intelligence.
There is an amazing example when they trained the model to classify the different types of shoes. And the model was not able to classify the shoes with heels. And after that, we realized that developers were men that didn't take it into account, right? It's not about bad impact, bad intention or lack of empathy. It's about like not seeing everything, right? And as you said, the empathy for people who bring the idea, who design the product, who implement the product, who after that test this product and finally bring to the clients, right? Everyone needs to be aware of these principles of empathy for AI and not only for technology overall.
Yeah, and I feel self-awareness is the foundation for empathy. In your example, if the creator of this AI didn't have that awareness of like, I need to include people of color or people in the minority groups or women in your case to consider heels to be recognized in the system, then there's no empathy, because like he doesn't have this awareness of having to include others in what he's creating and producing. So yeah, I think self-awareness is like the first foundational step people need to cultivate in order to be able to foster more empathy for themselves and others.
There are so many interesting points here. Is empathy something that can be measured?
I would say yes, and we already do it. Yeah, in a sense, we do it since 20 years, but in the recent years we have new algorithms. Yeah, so new technology and new advances, and we can show a real correlation, empathic correlation. And we have made already experiments and some research in Brazil with children, very young children, and theater. And through the VERIM seminars, it's a part of the education to become a VERIM trainer.
Yeah, I also read this study that measures the brain activity in two very extreme groups, like one extreme psychopath who just did not have any sense of empathy or compassion for someone when like something cruel or mean or bad was being done to someone, and they observed that. And then another extreme group of people is the extreme philanthropists who will go miles and beyond to do the biggest act of kindness, such as donating their organ to someone. And they put the two groups together and then like show different images, and the amygdala goes off very differently. Like the activity was very low for the group who cannot feel for other people. So I think biologically it is very possible to measure this, but I feel even just intuitively I can definitely tell just by among my friends. So I can tell like if I were to raise a fund, I raised a fund for a cause, for example, who would be more likely to donate to this cause? Or if something were to happen to me among my friends, who will show up for me, who will like drive all the way to my place to help me? So I think these are a lot of small ways where we could already see empathy in someone without having to do a very technical measurement. So I think it's a very intuitive way for us to sense.
Right, Edric. I think it's very, very, important what you say, because, amygdalas, this is exactly, I would say call it, invisible, thing inside of us, which has a lot of power, which belongs to the limbic system. And this is exactly which, what we measure, using GSR, So I think this is like, a real confirmation.
Right.
Yeah, empathy. I also realized that it's also dependent on kind of the interactions or relationships that you have, right, with whoever you're interacting with. Like Endamon's example, when he shared that of the student, a Korean student called Kim, who was experiencing that dip, and he can't kind of lift up the ring again. But when you did it with him, together, you guys managed to reach the state that you both intended to. And then just taking examples of how your daughter Tania, felt how you're feeling, and was able to kind of produce an action that allowed you to light up again. So it makes me think that this empathetic feeling, it's a very connected kind of how would I say, intuition driven way of communicating without the use maybe of all our senses. Or do we actually need to switch on all our senses, which I think would fall right into Endamon's discovery discovery or invention of the use of GSR, right, in terms of kind of measuring data and finding that coherence with other people.
Right, maybe at this point we should define what kind of empathy is, because empathy is a big word, It is being used by by Dalai Lama. It's being used by in psychology, and there are different understandings I see. So what I'm talking about is this basic, I call it psychophysiological one. Exactly, with the representing the changes in amygdalas, and amygdalas have they filter filter emotions, or what's coming in, and then it more or less decides on a little bit higher level than just on the reptile brain, where you go to fight or flee. What about the situation in a social context? Because amygdalas are part of the limbic system, which is very typical for mammals. And mammals, because they don't lay eggs, they cannot just put their offspring to the nature, and they have to carry for them. That's why probably the system evolved. In this way, I stress it's more on this psychophysiological base, which I would, how do you call it, emotional intelligence, without having intelligence on this psychophysiological level. So one can grow on the other one, but you cannot remove it, because otherwise the system breaks. So it's like there's like a hierarchy a little bit in the brain. In more radical terms, when you get injured in your reptile brain, then you are dead. But if you get injured somewhere, you can still live, or even because the brain is so flexible, it can remodel itself. So understanding this psychophysiological level is very important at ourselves as well, because this is what decides what will we do. Do we react aggressively, or we go into a confrontation, or we go into more cooperative, like caring for the offspring scenarios.
This ties in very closely to the importance of self-awareness as well, right? What you know you need in order to be the basic human being you need to be in order to survive in a system. And without this knowledge of what you need, are you able to turn on your emotional intelligence? Because if you don't have these basic needs met, then we are, in the end, still animals. We need to eat, we need to survive, we need to fight for survival, right? So how are we going to turn on this emotional intelligence? Is there a way?
Sure, I have the experience from the various seminars where we are, doing this with sport people in education and, sometimes in corporate human resources world. And what I see is, when the technology is just like a mirror, a very simple mirror, showing what is the state of this specific parameter. And we are talking about GSR or skin conductance, about the activation of the autonomic nervous system. There you can read if somebody is activated, or you can say stressed, yeah, but I don't like this word because it's so negative. Activation can be very nice as well, yeah. Without activation, it would be quite boring, yeah. And then, the ability to relax, which you need, for regeneration. But also there is, one parameter which you can extract from GSR, about focusing your attention, which is again, for example, in treatment of attention disorders and so on, very useful. And when you combine it with a playful situation, virtual situation, then, you don't even remember, okay, this is a game, but things change because I change. Yeah. So, and this is not like a monotonous, biofeedback training anymore. It's more, just, having fun. And then this social component comes where you can connect in a network and use this parameter to communicate with others. And this is a quite new situation. Maybe this is an example. Once in a Swiss Olympic Center, we were training the trainers there, so that they can work with varium. So they had, many systems. And then we had one woman. She was very good. She was, like focusing or relaxing. She was beating everybody. She was always the first, but it was, from her personal perspective on her screen. She didn't share it with the others, yeah, in real time afterwards. And then we started to work with, in a network, the same module, I had with this valuable person, team player team. When you relax, you go down as a ring, but you can see the others. Yeah. So then you can even, say, okay, we follow this guy or this guy. Yeah. A very interesting tool for, for team building. But what happened? She didn't move at all. Although she was able, to alone go, like this, in a group situation, she was not able to do. So she took off her electrodes, yeah, and said, okay, can we meet tomorrow 15 minutes earlier, because I have to discuss something. Okay, we met earlier, and what came out, she realized nobody was telling her anything, yeah, that she has a problem. That's, yeah, she said, I have a problem. I am, this person who is going, on the rocks. I'm alone. So all I have developed, strategies to have, stay cool, stay relaxed, be focused. But in a social context, I have a problem. So let's talk about this. And this is something, which gives me, I would say, this hope, through such good use of the technology. We just develop, yeah, and we don't have, so that the technology is just only, a helper, yeah, and maybe even, a helper in the sense a temporary helper, because I believe we have, forgotten. We are too much, in this upper brain, which we are so proud of, yeah. external devices, which I call, in the brain, and now we have, you know, external devices outside of the brain. But we do forget, you know, simple things like that, you know, maybe what historians say, the highest, let's say, development of a human was, you know, not now, but as we were hunters, you know, and seekers.
I really love what you're saying, because now we're talking not about bringing us to the next level in technology, but we're talking about bringing us back to our nature, right? To self-awareness, to empathy, to compassion, right? And as before, I believe that we have a lot of great examples of technology, but we also can see how technology sometimes separate us from each other, right? Make us compare everyone, etc., right? And now we are talking about reverse. Let's use technology to bring it back.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that example because yeah, it's not about, because when a lot of people, when they think about technology, they think about how it will turn us into a cyborg and less connected to our humanity and our heart. But again, technology is just a tool. It doesn't have to be a very dystopian type of use of technology. It can be as simple as using technology to understand how can we get into a calmer state, or how can we understand the other person better, help to cultivate this emotional intelligence, to develop and cultivate more empathy. An example, and to answer your question, Jen, I feel like empathy is definitely, for me, has a lot to do with the relationship with another person, and whether or not someone feels empathy for something or for someone, it really depends on how connected you feel to this person or cause or thing. And if you don't have that level of connectedness, it is impossible for you to feel that depth of empathy for that person. And this connect, and that gives me hope to know that not someone's empathy level is not set from the beginning. It can be increase and decrease. It's like a lever that we could influence based on how are we relating to this thing that we're trying to develop empathy for. And I like this use case of technology that cultivates more empathy for people who don't really feel much for the corals that are dying, because they're not a diver and like they only heard from the news. Is the level of connection is very, there's so much separation between who am I as a person and my sense of awareness and consciousness to what's going on in the ocean. But then when they put them in a VR, they put the VR device and allow them to deeply see what's going on, even though it's virtual reality, more senses got activated. I think this was what kind of Andaman was alluding to. When more of your senses got engaged, you felt more connected to this thing that you're trying to relate to. So now you're not only processing what's going on intellectually, you knowing that the corals are dying, but you actually felt it in your realm of consciousness somewhat. It's not as powerful as going to see it yourself, but still there's so much more senses are much more activated, and this increases that depth of connection and hence the empathy for what's going on. And at the end, I think they measured like the effectiveness of this, and people ended up caring so much for the corals, they ended up donating to the cause. So this is a beautiful example of how we can use technology to cultivate more empathy by increasing the connection to the thing that we're relating to.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And again, I really like what you're saying about kind of getting it into gamification, right? For example, when Andamon is talking about the biofeedback, right? We kind of practicing, and we get in kind of reward if we see that it's increasing, right? Or I believe, Adric, even in warm space sessions, right? You ask people before the session, do you feel connected, right? Or you also can ask about empathy, and after that, right? And for example, for me personally, knowing that I got better in empathy, right? It will just motivate me to keep going, right? For example, in our program, we ask, for example, I can configure to ask myself every day what I do. Did you do something for the others today? Right? And just asking this question will motivate me and encourage me to do it. Because if I answer no, I feel bad about myself. Like next day, I want to compensate it. Right? As simple as that. It's like the game that everyone likes to play, not only kids, right? To be better for ourselves, to be better for the others.
So, I don't know, Jen, how much time do we have left? You know, if I should, you know, show something practical. Not the system, it's too big now. Okay, then I will just, you know, for a second stop the video.
Okay.
So I'm not turning back on you. Okay. And roll over, and I'm still there.
Okay.
But just on the one sense is gone, right? To tell you know how simple it can be. Yeah, I'm just connecting, you know, USB cable. Yeah, I'm connecting into one of the, you know, first devices, a very old one, you know, GSR device. Yeah, so I'm connecting it to the. Let me check if the batteries. Yeah, I checked it before, but you know, you never know. So I'm connecting this to USB, and then I'm connecting electrodes. Yeah, and we'll make them longer. We have already sensors, you know, with you know, integrated electrodes, but this is, you know, some kind of a nostalgia which I have. You know, we have this few buttons, yeah, and then you have to press to begin the session, yeah. Then you have to put on the electrodes, yeah. The best way, you know, on the hand, you know, you are not using for the mouse, yeah, and that's all, yeah.
Right.
So now when I press the button, you know, the light stays on, yeah, because it's connected to electrodes. So for the next, you know, to show, in order to show you something, I need, you know, screen sharing.
Okay, I'll activate it.
Yeah. So now you can see a curve, which is changing to my reactions. So when I activate myself, yeah, for example, through breathing, yeah, the sound is changing. I don't know if you can hear the sound, but the sound is changing. So you can close even your eyes. And, you know, even now in this shot, what I'm showing you, you can see, you know, how it behaves. So now it's like a relative change to the beginning.
Are you trying very hard to focus?
And now I'm trying to relax and I cannot.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
too
see it going down.
Yeah, you see. You see.
Okay.
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 So, and this was the curve, you know. When it goes, this was the last moments, you know, where I got really excited, yeah. And there are many other ways, you know, to do it, yeah. So I can show you, know, the focus. Maybe I will switch the sensitivity a little bit lower. So now it's now it's about focusing, yeah. And yeah, I'm trying to, you know, imagine something which excites me, yeah. Then you see, you know, it's coming down, okay. And probably it's not about, you know, like you imagine when you close your eyes that it will, you know, be flat. It may be on the contrary. Yeah, and then, you know, see the reaction, yeah. I will just give me myself, you know, oh, I don't have to do it, you know, already it's coming up, yeah.
Right. I was intentionally trying to be like very focused and quiet because I knew that you were trying to focus. I don't know if Edric and Tania was also like, in that state, okay, Andamon needs to focus, so we'll just like keep still and and be with him for a moment. That's quite an interesting experiment, actually. We should do next time. Just one person connected,
Yeah, sure. And you can have, if we have the next time and we have time, we can even do it, maybe remotely. So we were doing in Verim such like a concept of proof for almost 2 years, where we had trainers in Brazil, Thailand, I don't know, many different countries. So we had sometimes problems to match the time zone,
right?
But it was like this group sessions, using so there is like already a taste, what can be achieved in the future.
There's an interesting play on self and others. In tech, it's just a tool, right? Whatever kind of tool we use, as long as that intention is good, then positive change can happen. But as easy as it sounds, there is always kind of a fear, or not fear maybe, about ethics, right? When it comes to using new ways of understanding and measuring ourselves and interacting with others. How could we create a safe environment, for technology that can help us feel human again and connect with others?
Get into the era when we creating some kind of regulations for AI, right? So we all understand how important it is, how harmful it can be if there are no ethical principles in AI, right? Because if you want to delegate a lot of work to AI and have it automated, we might not be able to validate the work that AI does, right? It comes to the point of Edric about biases, right? When Amazon, for example, they stopped their recruiting AI system that was biased against women, right? And they were proposing to hire more men. And there are a lot of examples. And now, for example, when we are very advanced in computer vision and we can generate basically video of anyone talking anything, and it's not the real story, right? We can take Jen and just create the text for you, right? And could you imagine if it goes to bad hands, what can happen, right? So for that, there are a lot of different organizations that started to work on regulations in order to define the principles of AI. For example, no biases or fairness towards all the different nationalities. It's not easy task again, right? Because when you design the product, it means that every single nationality, race, minority, values should be taken into account, right? So after that, the second one is human-centric. So independently, if the output is valid for the model, we need to validate if it really put the human into center and if it's really bringing help to everyone, right? After that, we go to transparency and explainability. For example, they did the survey by asking people, if you go for the surgery and you have robot doing the surgery with the probability of 80% of success, or you have the doctor doing surgery with probability of 50%, right? So AI is kind of better. Who would you choose? And a lot of people, they want to choose better human, right? Because they still don't trust, because it's black box. You don't see, you cannot talk to AI, right? It's black box, even though the numbers show different thing, right? So here we talk about transparency. And there are the other principles that maybe the last that I want to highlight is security and privacy, right? Because in order to delegate our data to AI, right? We need to share a lot, and usually it can be personal data. And again, if it goes to the company like, for example, Cambridge Analytica that use it for elections, right? We feel manipulated. We don't feel empathic, right? We feel our data was used in wrong way. So it's important to be able to encrypt, protect, anonymize the data, use it as the group of people, but not against individual.
Right. It reminds me, the Asimov's, the robot series, or whatever it was called, yeah, where you had, several laws, what, and so on. And I think this is what is needed. And I know they are already working in many places on such ethic. And in a sense, for me, it's, it's a progress. We are working, on ethics and not having, a third, person like, some kind of a divinity. So we are taking care ourselves because we are maybe creating, like gods, yeah. So it's very, very interesting aspect of in the human race, I think, yeah.
So I think part of empathy is also the humility that we don't know everything that we need to know in order to train the perfect AI yet. Because if we just looked at like centuries ago, like burning witches were considered the right thing to do, or like outing like LGBT people and giving them like conversion therapy was considered like compliant to the what Jesus wants us to do. So like what I'm saying is like we're constantly still learning and growing and understanding what is right and what is wrong. So part of imparting this empathy to the AI is also not putting fixed values on what we think is right and wrong. And so giving that room for making mistakes and creating that flexibility to develop new values over time, so that we don't fix on certain things that we are still not very sure of. Because I think in timeline wise, we're still very early as the evolution development of humanity and what we know about the world. So part of the empathy is also having that humility that we don't know everything yet.
Right. And it's very important that we said about flexibility, right? Because in current state of AI, we need, the best is the combination of human and AI, right? When we allow that, configure it in the way that will benefit one country or one group of people, and configure it another way that will benefit the other group of people, right? And the same as we talk about the therapies that help people with mental health, right? There are different programs, there are different intentions, etc. So like the first step for AI, it will be just empowering all the professions, not replacing, right? What everyone is scared that AI will take from us professions. No, empowering and giving the tools and visibility on all the data that human brain cannot process, right? When we have the millions of different features, but just giving the tools with empathy, with proper principles, but still leaving the decision for the human, right? Because if something happened, like no one will charge AI, right? No one will put AI into jail.
Right, but it recalls me, this what happens already now, yeah, in the social media and some gross-selling platforms, yeah, and it was already annoying for me, many years ago, before Cambridge Analytica came. I'm just so okay. Wait a moment, I am being followed. I get this and this, yeah. And this should not be. So I quit it. It took some time, almost 2 months. Yeah. I cannot register it anymore for some reason. Okay, but it's fine with me. Yeah. So I don't use Facebook anymore for some years. And what I'm worried about, it's more like an open question. Will we have maybe several levels of society? Those who, give the choice to AI. For example, now, you get recommendations and everything, and you follow this and buy it, yeah. So the choice is being made for you by the technology. and then, people who are, searching to make the choices themselves, and they are using the technology just to help them, as a tool, yeah, in more a symbiotic way. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it sounds like there has to be a choice. One of the principles is that you need to give people a choice on whether they want to have AI help them or not help them. But then at the same time, if they choose not to be involved in any AI driven efficient process, then will they be left out of society, right? Is kind of like another question. But I would like to take a more positive turn to this discussion and chat that I think there is a positive future on creating a more empathetic kind of society.
I think, maybe taking this positive part, not going much deeper, now into the technology would be much more nicer, to express, that, I'm already in a group, which is called Systrum with Tania, and we are working already on immersive systems which will adjust will not control, but will adjust in a sense, yeah, the influence of lights, yeah, with different frequencies and colors. You have tactile experience through vibrations. You have, of course, sound vibration. You have GSR inside, yeah. And one of the goals, and this is something which I see here in this project very positive, is we will be connecting people. Yeah, so we will be building the relationships, yeah, correlations in real time, yeah. And now we are already thinking, how to make it, because there are so many ways, and for other reasons I don't want to go now much in the detail, but it will be possible, or almost is possible, to have like a group session using this parameter as a information exchange, yeah, between people, yeah. And I already saw people breaking to tears because I don't know, what is the technology, what is the the surroundings, the settings, yeah. But such kind of sessions, they felt really oh, I'm bridging something. I'm bridging something which I did forget as a human.
Wow, that sounds very exciting. Almost, I can imagine almost like if you are teleported into the person's world, but just based on emotions that you can't see, but you can feel. So it's very, very exciting thing that you're developing. And Edric as well, he is also connecting people, but in a different way.
What's in common between what we're doing at Warm Space with System that Andaman is developing is getting people outside of their pattern. And part of cultivating and deepening our empathy is being able to detach from our ego and this like loop of like constantly thinking of like, how can I fulfill my own desires? How can I be best in like everything that I do compared to everyone else? And when we could get people outside of that loop and like very egocentric thinking, either through a transcendental transformative experience that a system is creating, or through Warm Space, just having this space and moment where you get to detach from all of this and like really have this deep human connection with someone else, and realizing all this pain that you're having, all the struggles that you're carrying with you, you're not actually alone with all of this. There's someone else who actually cares for you. There's someone else who shares the similar struggle with you, as much as you think you're alone in what you're going through. And it's so unique. Like, we all share very common human experiences. And when we can have that realization, we can start feeling that we can start transcend our ego and start operating as one collective. And when we can get to that state, we could act from a place of compassion, harmony, and togetherness. And that's what I am excited about with what technology can enable that previously will take, without system, for example, someone will have to meditate for like 50 years to get to that deep meditative, like Zen like state, to like not worry about anything and like transcend their ego, or they have to travel to the America to go to Burning Man to experience this like group flow, or join Navy SEAL, go through all this training. But now you could go through like a session with System, and because of all the different sensories that got activated, it put you in a certain state, and that caused like a shift in our consciousness and rewiring of how we think on a day-to-day basis, or how through Warm Space connecting you to someone from across the world and having the environment set up in a way that you could feel so safe to reveal who you are. This is the potential of the technology that I'm so excited about. It creates access. It includes people who normally have to pay lots of money or spend a lot of time to get to this state. They can access this transformative deep connection in a very easy and accessible way because of technology.
Yeah, it's like, you are not putting your emoticons, yeah, but you are sending, your emotions. And you are exchanging. So when you are talking about something, you see the reaction of the other person. Yeah, I mean, if you are good, you can read it, yeah, through the non-verbal stuff, yeah. But when you see it through the, change, for example, of the environment, that like maybe in the cafe, the lights on your table will change, or whatever, where your next person, gets, the same feeling as you or whatever, yeah. This could be a part of our, even the reality, yeah. And I still see it as a bridge, yeah. So
I really believe that AI can, as we discussed, bring us back to our roots, being empathic and human and caring and loving. And there are so many great initiatives now happening in the world with all the regulations, and even you have AI models that actually scan social media if you have any bots and detect them and remove, right? You have AI actually models checking the other models if they are not biased or if they are transparent, etc. There are some discussions now. I was involved in Europe going on about the open source platform that will validate the AI, every technology that uses AI, and it will be supported by the developers from the whole world without like some ownership from the corporation, right? When everyone can contribute to the system, that platform that will go through all the principles of ethical AI and make sure that this product is validated, right? And it will be kind of marketplace for also the new startups or platforms that use AI. And they will also be able to use it as kind of a template, right? Okay, I want to be AI, I want to be ethical, right? But I don't have experience on that. So how I can go to that platform and get this experience and just benefit everyone? Yes. So I'm very positive about that because we have conscious around us that we want to bring the humanity to the better version of ourselves.
Yeah, and I think a hope for me is that, as we become better versions of ourselves, we would be able to understand better the environment and our relationships we have around one another. And I really look forward to what all of you have, planned in your future forward. And I hope that we can connect again soon and discuss more on the progress of where you're at, and also share with more people the good work that we hope to do with technology and human well-being. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
you.
After this session. See you. Thanks a lot.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye-bye.